Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Bartlett, I know that you want me.
Good God. Joe Gimateo.
Gentlemen, the word of the day is deranged.
Yes. Yes, it is. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one episode of Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on April 29th, 1996. This Raw was recorded at the Civic Auditorium in Sioux City, Iowa, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, let's get into it. Last night, at In Your House, seemingly out of nowhere, the British Bulldog was accusing Shawn Michaels of trying to sleep with Davy's wife, Diana. And after Shawn's victory there at In Your House, the Bulldog apparently went to the ring, but we don't get to see what happens after that because we get hit with the intro. Welcome, everyone, to Sioux City, Iowa! Coming up, Bart Gunn is taking on Mankind, but later on, Jim Cornette is going to be investigating these accusations about Shawn Michaels. And then I got a little bit skeptical when I was told that the Ultimate Warrior is going to be in action. I'll believe the action part when I see it. He doesn't have a very good track record of that so far. But now, we're going to go into our first match of the night. Mankind defeats Bart Gunn by submission in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. My very first note here, Joe, take a shot every time Vince McMahon says deranged. It was apparent at the start of the match that that's the path we were going to take. But we can't get bogged down in that because once the bell rings, the work begins, and it looks pretty good. Mankind looks to be in pretty good physical shape here. I was kind of surprised. I don't know if he maybe trimmed a little bit of weight or just hit the bench a little more or something, but he didn't look quite as frumpy as he usually does. I say that with all love and respect for McFoley. I loved Mankind's vocalizations while Bart was wrenching the armbar down on him. That was good stuff. And I also loved Bart scrambling to get away from the mandible claw attempt, taking the match to the outside. Hell, I also loved Mankind's shambling walk around the ring. This is something that I don't think we've really mentioned yet, but it stays a mainstay with him. It's almost like sideways, like a crab scuttling around with his head turned to the one side.
It kind of reminds you of when, like, a horror character is chasing someone.
Kind of like a Phantom of the Opera, turn the shoulder into it kind of thing.
But it's that slow trot, like a Jason or whatever, like, you know, you could run at full speed, but somehow he's still going to catch up to you.
Yeah. The baseball slide to put Bart out of the ring was great. What was not great was cutting to commercial right at a pivotal point where it looked like someone was about to get suplexed at the outside. It was at about this point in the show that I realized the crowd was pretty dead going into this, and up to this point in the match, I didn't see hardly anyone on their feet or cheering, and I just don't trust the noise going on because that's been piped in before. There was a head scissor on the apron that looked really good, especially with Mankind beating his own head off the rail of the divider afterwards. And there was a pretty nice set of punches when Bart starts his rally. And that was capped off by what was almost like a Superman punch from Bart coming in with the left paw. That looked fantastic. And then that drop kick that Bart used on Mankind looked amazing too. He got some excellent height and form there. And here's where it looked like people were starting to feel it there in the crowd. People were starting to really react to the near falls. And that's about when it was time to go home. Bart is kneeling on Mankind and punching down. Mankind is able to reverse that by rolling over and applying the mandible claw. And that's still just me calling it that. It hasn't been formally named here yet. I'm not sure what the deal is, but Mankind's hand was bleeding pretty badly, and they show that bloody hand jammed into Bart's mouth and just blood smeared everywhere, so that was pretty off-putting, but interesting in its own way. The peaceful music plays for Mankind's victory, and the way Mankind sells the soothing nature of the music was just amazing. He got a little help from Jerry Lawler on commentary for that, but it was really apparent here and was just a very, very nice touch to the end of the match. But this segment isn't quite over yet, as Jim Ross is present to interview Bart Gunn about what just happened. And Bart Gunn sells the living shit out of it. Bart's out of breath. Bart is disgusted. Bart can barely string 2 words together as Jim Ross presses him over what it felt like to be in that paralyzing hold. And then out of nowhere, Mankind attacks, putting the claw back on Bart Gunn again, driving him to the floor. And after a commercial break, we find out that it kept going. The officials were pulling Mankind off, but Mankind was desperately trying to get the claw back onto Bart. Jerry Lawler throws it out there that this is all Jim Ross's fault, and that maybe Jim Ross ought to interview Mankind. And that's where this all ended. And guys, it's no surprise that I was gushing over Mankind while I was watching this, but I absolutely have to give it to Bart Gunn here. And I also have to add that Bart's small handful of solo appearances have not been disappointing so far since Billy's been injured. He's a damn good wrestler. Ryan, what did you think about our show opener and the aftermath?
One thing I was pretty excited about was at the very beginning of the match, they re-show the footage of Mankind putting the mandible claw on The Undertaker. And I believe this is the first time Vince McMahon says down his gullet. And I loved when I heard him say, I've been waiting for it. And he maybe said it on another show or on Superstars, but it's the first time I caught it. So I was very excited about that. And it looks like Billy Gunn isn't quite ready to come back yet because we still got Bart in singles action here. But to be honest, this looked pretty good. I'm in pretty close agreement with you here, Bartlett. From my childhood, I don't really remember Bart Gunn that much. I remember the Smoking Guns, but I don't remember Bart being such a good worker that he is, because really in the matches we've seen him in, both being in the tag team and singles, it's been pretty solid stuff out of him. You know, we've mentioned these sounds that Mankind makes when he throws punches, but this is a match that rightfully wasn't a squash match, right? He was up against someone who wasn't a complete bum, and they didn't really treat it like that. This was a longer match that he didn't just come out here and murder Bart Gunn. And in doing that, we heard Bart Gunn, every time he landed a punch, Mick Foley gave a different sound. It was a different squeal or a different grunt that he gave when he throws a punch. So he's really living up to this character. And you said, Bartlett, how at one point he smacks his own head off the crowd barrier. It just completely deranged. He is selling that 100%. And you have to give him all the credit in the world, because he is turning, like you said, this crowd got involved. They didn't really care at the beginning, but it was hard not to get involved by the time it was done. I thought this continued my excitement for Mankind. I thought it was a really good match with Bart Gunn that he had, and I thought all the stuff that happened after helped try and establish his finisher. So I think a lot of people are probably confused why this finisher even does anything. So having Bart Gunn backstage selling, he was just completely out of it, like he just finished a whole fifth of Jack Daniels or something, and then Mankind comes out again and just attacks him. So I think they're doing a great job of setting up Mankind, and they're doing a good job of trying to explain and set up why his finisher is so devastating.
What did it do to you? The paralysis.
The paralysis.
I think that I have reached the territory where Vince annoys the living shit out of me with Mankind, kind of like he does with Shawn Michaels. So I have to just really tune it out like I do with Shawn Michaels. I'm like, man, is he annoying, but I'm just going to enjoy this Shawn Michaels match. And I've already reached that point with Mankind. Just the constant use of the word deranged, the esophagus. Like, why do you have to say esophagus? Like, just say throat or mouth. I don't know. It's just so annoying to me.
Or gullet.
Or gullet. It's just so annoying to me, but Mankind is obviously great to watch. Not that his in-ring stuff is not good, but has there ever been anyone more exciting to watch outside the ring than Mick Foley? I mean, when Mick Foley is outside of the ring, I assure you that I will not be scooping the litter box. I will be glued to the television and watching it. And it's nice to see Bart Gunn jobbing out to these future legends like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mankind. And actually, I'm serious about that. He's pretty good. He's a really good wrestler.
They're giving him a bit of respect. They're not making him go out in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
These are long matches.
Yeah, he's certainly getting more respect than guys like Fatu or
yeah,
Sparkplug.
Yeah. It's a shame that Bart Gunn's not one of those guys that can really connect to the crowd. He's just kind of
solid worker, but no charisma.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of the guys from the 80s. Like, he has this cowboy gimmick and he's a good wrestler, but it's just like, he's just another guy, you know?
And I think that's why he falls perfectly into that Carpenter category, you know?
Yeah.
He's not quite a jobber, but he doesn't have what it takes to be a superstar.
He's a good worker, for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
And the stuff after the match I thought was good. Again, Vince annoyed me, but I tried to ignore it. Bart Gunn was pretty funny here. He said something about, he was like warning the Undertaker too. He started to like try to warn he's like, Undertaker, you better watch out. And then Mankind like just destroys him, which was hilarious. So yeah, I really enjoyed all of it.
It was in my mouth, and I don't know. I was pretty entertained by that. All right. We'll move it along here because Savio Vega is on his way down to ringside, and he is a man with a mission, not a man on a mission, because we've had enough of those. Savio's coming down carrying some kind of rope or strap-looking object, and we find out that Savio's here to join commentary. And Savio is going to issue a public challenge to Stone Cold Steve Austin after our next match. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats Scott Taylor by submission in 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Ryan, Scott Taylor, where have I heard that name before?
You heard that name as our Jobber of the Week all the way back in October 24th of 1994.
Okay. Scotty Too Hottie.
That's right.
Well, I hate to say it, but he's not too hotty in this match. Well, I shouldn't put it that way. We'll talk about it here. In the match, the bell rings and things get going. And Scott Taylor was already in the ring waiting. Stone Cold doesn't waste any time. Austin viciously beats the shit out of Scott Taylor in the corner, straight out of the gate. It looked rough. And here is where it was made clear to us that Savio is going to be challenging Austin to a Caribbean strap match at the next In Your House. Meanwhile, in the ring, Stone Cold was applying a helicopter spin to Scott Taylor. It did not look very easy or effective, and I can only think that just has to be embarrassing for Scott Taylor in the ring. It's like a bully on the playground, just picking up the twerp and swinging him around.
Yeah, it's the type of thing you do to your kids.
Like a toddler, yeah.
Yeah, do it again, Daddy.
Again.
Now, the story in the ring starts to work with commentary as Stone Cold lifts Taylor out of the pin in order to stare at Savio. But then, unfortunately, there's a lot of split screen going on here as Jerry Lawler and Savio Vega antagonize each other. But we're not missing much in the ring anyway because Taylor hasn't mounted any kind of offense here at all. Poor Savio is obviously outmatched by Lawler as Savio is stuck repeating the same lines about the Caribbean strap match at In Your House over and over again. In the ring, Stone Cold locks in the $1 Million Dream, Taylor is put to sleep, and as the referee calls for the bell, Stone Cold just throws Taylor down in disgust. Savio gets up then to grab a microphone and make the official challenge. The crowd loves it, getting behind Savio on this, but of course the $1 Million Man and Stone Cold both refuse. If you're a lip reader, you can clearly see Stone Cold call Savio Vega a piece of shit. But then things go banana. When Stone Cold turns his back to walk away, Savio hits the ring behind him, winds up, and then lashes Stone Cold's back with that leather strap. The sound of it, my God, just made me wince. Just as Stone Cold is falling out of the ring, we cut to commercial. And that was the end of this segment. As I hinted at earlier, the match itself was more or less just Stone Cold beating the dog shit out of Scott Taylor. He did a good job of getting the dog shit beat out of him, and so remains deserving of the Jobber of the Week status, even after all of this time. But I thought it was good to see that we're keeping this feud between Stone Cold and Savio going. This was a great way to keep it fresh in our minds, and I'm honestly excited now to see what a Caribbean strap match between these two might look like. Joe, what did you think of all this?
I hope this makes sense when I say it, but Stone Cold Steve Austin right now is really in that Stone Cold gimmick more so than his Texas rattlesnake gimmick later.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who the Iceman is? They made like a movie about him. He was a hitman for the...
Yeah.
Steve Austin said, I'm pretty sure it was him that said that he based his Stone Cold gimmick off of that guy, the Iceman. And it makes total sense when you watch this, you know, the stare down that he does with people. And, you know, he just looks like a Stone Cold killer, basically.
Yeah.
And it's really enjoyable to watch right now. You know, eventually we're going to see him kind of transition to that Texas rattlesnake gimmick, but this is really cool stuff here. And the match itself, like you said, Bartlett was just, you know, beating the dog shit out of Scott Taylor. So there's not much to say there, but I'm liking that Savio and Steve Austin are getting the attention that they deserve. This is a Caribbean strap match now, which I don't know if I'm really excited to watch that, but it's certainly a better gimmick than Kiss My Foot match or Crybaby match.
Yeah.
It's fitting for these two guys. And I think it's something that I'm looking forward to. Not necessarily the gimmick match itself, but just continuing to see these guys push through this feud is really fun to watch.
So for me, you know, when this match first started off, we had that wide camera shot of the ring, and I'm looking at the person in the ring, and I'm thinking we might have ourselves another Jobber of the Week, but once they zoom in and put the little name tag on it, I see that it's Scotty Too Hottie and that we already did him. And I'm a little sad about that. Then Stone Cold just beats the living piss out of him. And that's all this was. It was Scott Taylor getting his ass handed to him and the King insulting Puerto Rico. That's pretty much all that really happens in this match.
I kind of wish...
Breath.
Yeah, I kind of wish Savio would have strangled Lawler with that strap.
Something. Yeah, because like you said, Joe, he was just kind of outmanned as far as it goes in shit talking here. And he just, the strap, we're going to have a strap match is kind of all he kept on saying.
Yeah.
We finished this match. I didn't even know it was going to be the end of the match, but boom, Scott Taylor's going to sleep in the $1 Million Dream move here. But it doesn't matter because this match didn't really exist. This was a vessel for Savio to challenge Stone Cold for the strap match. And that was exciting because we have all, I think, agreed that we love this feud between these two guys. And this was a good way to keep it going. And I really enjoyed Stone Cold turning it down and then Savio coming up behind him and just lighting him up. The way that sound just rippled through the stadium, that slap was fantastic. So obviously we didn't get a complete conclusion here, but anyone with half a brain cell knows where this is going. The strap match is going to happen, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm honestly kind of surprised about that. Joe, something you said is sticking with me here. It's not a baby bottle match. It's not a kiss my foot, that bullshit gimmick stuff. This is a classic old school gimmick match. And I'm not saying that the old school gimmick matches are any better than these new shitty ones, but I can't think of, well, let's all just be clear and honest with each other right now. A Caribbean strap match is probably going to be along the lines of a dog collar match, or I forget what
a dog chain match.
Yeah, they tie the two.
A Texas strap match, I think we have at some point.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward what this is going to be. And so, my expectations for it, they're realistic. Even though I can't think of a strap match off the top of my head that I've ever seen and liked, I do know that I like both of these performers and I like this story. And hey, it's not a fucking cage. So there's that.
Yep.
Guys, this is something I was looking forward to talking to you about. Here comes Jim Cornette now, along with the British Bulldog and Diana Smith, to meet Vince McMahon, who's there waiting in the ring with a microphone. And Diana looks gorgeous as always. There's something about her, even though she's always just booked in these most ridiculous positions and doing some of these things that just don't seem to line up with her look.
Did you proposition her?
Well, I'm a married man, but in my younger days, I might have. How old was I at this point?
You, sir, are a fornicator.
14 years old. Well, this is all just talk. This is secondary to the next person to come out, and that's the most resilient, the most charismatic, the home-wrecking champion, Shawn Michaels. Shawn comes out with Jose Lothario. Not sure why he's still here, but okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Whatever.
That was my first note is, hey, Joe, I'm sure you were glad to see Jose Lothario here.
Well, before we get down to this other business, we need to fluff Shawn real quick. Let's put over his victory against Diesel In Your House. Vince is very eager to cup the balls as he sets Shawn up for the interview blowjob.
He would like to be a fornicator with Shawn.
Yeah. Well, Shawn runs with it, he talks himself up against Bret Hart and then Diesel. This whole time, Cornette and Bulldog and Diana are all just standing around with their thumbs up their asses. Vince gushes over every word out of Shawn's mouth. He even guffaws over Shawn's arrogance. But thankfully, Jim Cornette is present, and he's not having it past a certain point. We're going to get down to business. Jim lays it out. He wants to talk about how Shawn is a stinking pervert who tried to sleep with the Bulldog's wife. Jim's got a video queued up, and I thought this was very clever. This video is complete with a white circle to show us what to look for. This was the hard camera view from In Your House, and he describes using that white circle how Diana was tricked into leaving her seat at the pay-per-view and into coming backstage where Shawn Michaels was waiting for her. Vince is obviously disgusted and surprised at these accusations, most of all, however, disbelieving, as Cornette states that Shawn backed Diana into a corner and propositioned her. Cornette then just lays into Shawn Michaels fully, calling him a pervert, a sexual deviant, a corrupter, a desecrator, a sleazebag, and ultimately Shawn Michaels is a fornicator.
A deflowerer.
He deflower, yeah. Diana now has her shot, and in a completely deadpan monotone, says, Shawn, I know you want me.
I know you want me.
And that's where I just started cracking up laughing. I mean, I was halfway there with Cornette's promo on Shawn here, but once she said that, I just lost it. I almost pissed myself laughing. Shawn responds with the zinger of Diana not flattering herself, but then Diana slaps Shawn, and as the interview is breaking up, Shawn lays down a perfectly timed, well, I guess we know who wears the pants in the Smith family. And now it's the Bulldog's turn to go after Shawn. God damn, I love that. It looked great, but once again, we cut to commercial. This is the third time now, at a pivotal moment, just as things are getting interesting. And we come to find out after that break that officials had flooded the ring for the pull-apart. The icing on the cake is that the New Rockers pass by Shawn in the entryway, coming down to their match, which we will get to shortly. But before we do, I was thoroughly entertained by just about all of this. I like this story. I like how we're setting it up and where we've gone with it so far. And I'm looking forward to where we go next. Joe, please, what did you think of it?
Yeah, this is some real soap opera shit, you know? This is wrestling. Yeah. And Jim Cornette, I mean, what a great person to set it up for us.
Yeah.
When they first got into this, I thought, oh, I don't know about this. But the end, I thought, was fantastic with Shawn's comment, and then they get into the brawl. Diana is just not, I mean, she's a good person to put in this spot, but she's not really a good person to put in this spot. I mean,
they should keep her off the mic.
Yeah. She really does. I think, Bartlett, you mentioned this before. When she starts talking, it really gives you that Stu Hart vibe.
Yeah.
But this is really good stuff, and it's very realistic, because I kind of wonder if they came up with this idea because Shawn Michaels did move in on Chris Candido's girlfriend in real life. And if you guys remember that lawsuit with the British Bulldog, where he supposedly allegedly beat someone up in a bar because they wanted to dance with Diana.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Great call on that. Yeah,
it made me wonder if maybe they're bringing some more reality into this stuff, kind of like they did with the Syracuse stuff with Shawn. So yeah, pretty good stuff. I thought it was pretty entertaining. And then they went to commercial, and then they replayed what just happened, and you just hear the rockers music over top of the entire replay. I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, they did a really good job with this. You know, it started off, Joe, I agree. I was a little bit iffy on kind of the storyline and what they were going with this, but right from the beginning, Shawn Michaels cuts a really great promo talking about how he beat Bret Hart at his game and he beat Diesel at his game. And, you know, I thought Shawn Michaels did a great job of setting it up. And then Cornette comes in and just runs it home with his Bartlett, you laid out perfectly, his screaming, you fornicator, you whatever else, every fucking name in the book he's throwing and screaming at Shawn. And then sets up Diana Smith for her, Shawn, I know that you want me. And I'm right there with you. I absolutely lost it at that point. I had to pause it because I wasn't going to hear what was going to be said for like the next 20, 30 seconds because I was just laughing my fucking ass off. And then Shawn comes back with the don't flatter yourself, the slap, and then all the violence begins that we want to see. So I thought everyone involved here really hit it out of the park, maybe outside of Diana. But we came into this, and like I said at the very beginning of this segment, I wasn't necessarily on board, but by the end of it, I was 100% on board. They did their job here.
Let me see if I can do this. Shawn, I know you want me. Yeah, so the one thing that I have to point out for anybody that wants to go back and rewatch this, the whole thing is gold, but the icing on the cake, again, is the new rockers passing by Shawn in the entryway. And as they do, Leif Cassidy gives Shawn the double thumbs up on his way past.
What a dork.
Marty tastefully ignores Shawn. Well, as I stated previously, we come out of that segment and immediately into our next match. The New Rockers, Marty Gennetti and Leif Cassidy, versus the Godwins, that's Henry and Phineas with Hillbilly Jim, ends in a double countout in 7 minutes and 38 seconds. The Godwins come down with 2 pigs and a hound dog, and man, neither of those pigs wanted to be there. They were very, very crowd shy. I enjoyed seeing Phineas waving to the crowd and just kind of acting like the country simpleton. The people of Iowa loved it. He got a great response there. But before the match even begins, we go to split screen with Sunny there, and she was looking fantastic. What was odd, though, was that she was holding the tag team titles, but the tag team champions weren't there.
I don't think that's the first time we saw that.
No, it's not, but it's becoming more blatant that this is happening. Sunny cuts a great promo saying some appropriately correct things about both teams in the ring before ending it by saying that she needs a closer look. The action here in the ring is nothing special. The work starts with Marty, Gennetti, and Phineas, but after a few sequences, things devolve into 2-on-1 with the Rockers double-teaming Phineas. Phineas then tweaks out and throws wild swings and gets down into the whole mule kick gimmick that he does. Henry and Hillbilly Jim end up restraining Phineas after the Rockers run out of the ring, with Leif Cassidy repeating, "Hold me back, Marty!" while Marty makes no effort to do so whatsoever. Eventually that gets sorted out just in time for Sunny to come down the entryway. The camera makes sure to get a good full-frame focus on Sunny's cleavage between the tag titles.
Extra oiled up tonight.
You mean the assets?
The
that
assets,
she's holding.
yes. And then we cut to commercial, coming back to Sunny standing at ringside watching. Henry's in the ring now with Leif, but the crowd starts chanting for Sunny. Just as many eyes are on Sunny as they are on the match. Gennetti and Phineas knock each other out of the ring, and that's what ends up drawing the double countout. There's still some random activity in the ring, and here is where it was clearly stated that this match was for the number one contender spot for the tag titles. If it was mentioned before this, I didn't catch it, but here is where we get just that kind of an important tidbit of information. It's the tag titles, so, I mean, we can just forget about them for the most part. But it seems like that's going to be the end of things here, in this segment at least. And guys, I realized watching this match that the Godwins are definitely crossing the line now into cartoon shit territory. But it hasn't been bad enough yet to make me get past the feel-good nostalgia I have for them. I have to just be completely honest here. I loved this shit as a kid, and I still do, for the most part. I can't fault these guys at all. It's just very endearing to me. Ryan, what did you think of this match?
I don't necessarily disagree, I guess. At the beginning of it, the Godwins come down, and they're strutting around their pigs like Bret Hart in Germany. And, you know, the crowd is fucking loving it. They were a little bit long with it, but the crowd loved it, which, you know, partly I don't want to discourage any of our Iowa friends, but maybe the pig farming gimmick speaks to them, you know, a little bit more than the rest of the country. But I thought once the match actually started, we immediately cut to split screen. So the pig shit was more important than the actual match. So the new Rockers should look at that as a badge of honor to wear, that they're not as important as fucking pigs coming down to the ring. Because Sunny is just going to talk over the beginning of this match. Like earlier, this match doesn't really matter. It's all about the Godwins, Sunny, and setting up another title match between the Godwins and the Body Donnas. As far as the ring stuff goes, there wasn't really a bunch to talk about. Mostly is Phineas doing his flipping out and mule kicking. We got to see that again, and it's starting to remind me of Curly from the Three Stooges. When he would get on the ground and spin around in a circle. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I'm starting to think about with Phineas. But Sunny comes down and interrupts everything again. But even though she's playing up the heel, the crowd they can't cover it up. The entire crowd is just chanting her name. So she cannot stay a heel very much longer because the crowd just absolutely loves her. Then we get a double count out, which I was a little bit upset over because sadly, I think this might mean that we won't get another tag team title match on Raw for another 6 months. So I was kind of sad about that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit, I guess I'm a little indifferent to the Godwins gimmick and the hokiness of it. I think it gives the WWF a little bit more versatility because a gimmick like this is going to go over very well in the towns where there's a lot of farming like Iowa.
Yeah.
But it's not going to go over as well in New York City. So I guess it gives them a little more versatility, and it's kind of like reaching that Bushwhackers level where it's like it's a spectacle, similar to what we say about the Warrior and this other stuff that's not really meant to focus on the wrestling aspect or sports entertainment aspect. I think it's okay, but when you're bringing a dog out and two pigs and stuff, it's just like I can't take this match seriously. I do think the thing with Phineas is a little funny when he does that, when he goes crazy like Curly from the Three Stooges there. I do think it's kind of funny, but the whole thing is basically a sideshow, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. So, like I said, I'm indifferent.
I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah. As far as Sunny, I said it last week. She is way over right now, and if I'm in creative, I am panicking because you're gonna have to do something with her that's not what you're currently doing. She's gonna have to break away, and I know she does at some point, but
it doesn't matter what she does or say. The crowd loves her.
Yes. At this point, if I'm them, I'm thinking we got to do something else with her, because we can't keep her with the Body Donnas, because they are clearly not the featured player on that team.
Nobody gives a flying fuck about them.
Nobody gives a shit about them. So
yeah, unfortunately true. I hate to admit it, but you're absolutely spot on with that. Well, guys, we get an update here. Jim Ross found Mankind in the bottom of a dark stairwell, and Jim wants Mankind to explain this disabling maneuver to him. And Mankind gets to it. He cuts an amazing promo and states that in his youth, he explored all of the pressure points of pain on a human being, eventually settling on the soft flesh under the tongue because it paralyzes the victim. The only hope for Mankind is Mankind's love for humanity, but Mankind has none. Mankind was not surprised that his fingers incapacitated the Undertaker, but he was very surprised at just how easy it was, and I popped my ass off. He finishes up saying that he's getting bored, and everybody should just have a nice day. Once again, guys, Mankind shows us why he is the star he is today. Ryan, please, what did you think of this brief segment?
Oh, man. For such a brief segment, how could it pack in so much greatness? I mean, right from the beginning, Jim Ross having to walk down the stairs into this dark basement-looking corner where Mankind is kneeled and curled up in the corner. And then he cuts a absolutely fantastic promo. He talks about there being over 740 nerves in the human body. And I immediately think back to, just a couple years ago at this point, it would have came out, but Terminator 2, it reminded me of Sarah Connor when her quote, "There are 215 bones in the human body. That's one of them." I don't know if he was directly channeling that, but I feel like he had to be, because the words he used were very, very similar. And he goes into and does a great job of explaining why the mandible claw is his finisher. I'm shocked at just how good this promo was. I mean, going into this, I knew I loved Mankind, and I'm an absolute fanboy for Mick Foley. But I have not seen a promo of this quality, I don't think ever, since in the time that we've done this podcast. I was just absolutely popping my ass off.
Yeah, this is a nice promo here for Mankind, and it just shows how multi-talented Mick Foley is. He can go in the ring, he can go outside the ring, he can cut a promo, he can act. He has a great sense of timing. That is something that is just so important. You look at guys like Ahmed Johnson and all these other guys who didn't work out. Well, Ahmed Johnson has no sense of timing whatsoever. Mick Foley, Undertaker, guys like that who have lasted a long time, had a great career, they have a great sense of timing, and he shows it here in his promo, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, completely agreed. And it's almost sad that I have to follow this, because it was that fucking great. But, guys, I have a surprise for you here now. In the episode, Vince drops the news that the WWF will be in Erie, Pennsylvania on May 9th. And since that is an event that we easily could have attended together in our youth, I thought I would get your thoughts on the match card for that show.
Nice. I thought your surprise was that we were just going to completely skip the next match, which would have been a nice surprise.
So this is extra special for me. I went to college in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I could have very easily, not necessarily went to this pay-per-view, but these were my stomping grounds for at least a handful of years.
Yeah, the venue is the Civic Auditorium, right? The Erie Civic Auditorium.
And it's in April, right? So no need to worry about the weather.
No, that's not true. With Erie, Pennsylvania, if you know anything about Erie, April is still possible snow.
Horrible.
May 9th. May 9th is when this was. Still.
By May, you're usually safe in Erie.
Well, and I know that this is a bit ahead of our viewing schedule, but it probably won't get brought up again because, you know, this was a batch recording in Sioux City.
Sarsaparilla.
Yeah. By the time we get past May 9th, we'll still be in recordings from Sioux City, so this is probably the most appropriate time to bring it up. But yeah. I'm just going to read you the match card, and this is in the order that it was presented to me in my research. I'm not claiming this as absolute fact, but the sources that I found all agreed on this match card in this order, and just, you know, freestyle it, guys. Throw it out there on what you think these matches would have looked like. Opening match, Bob Holly defeats the Brooklyn Brawler, who was subbing for Bob Backlund.
Wow. Who goes first?
Joe, please.
Oh, boy. Are there a lot of NASCAR fans up in Erie, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. I guess this is exciting. I guess. And no Bob Backlund. If I expected Bob Backlund and he was replaced by anyone, that would make me happy.
Yeah, I have to agree with Joe on this. The fact that Bob Backlund was replaced with old Sparky Plug here, I think that's a positive. Not that this match would have been great, but that makes it just a notch better.
Yeah, I can't really add much to that. A great way to get the crowd's engine revving. Yeah. Next up, the Smoking Guns defeated Samu of the Head Shrinkers.
What? And
his tag team partner, the Tahitian Warrior.
Who is that?
No idea.
Okay.
Didn't look it up. I thought that the randomness of that would speak for itself. Not only do we have some fucking guy named the Tahitian Warrior, but Samu?
Yeah.
I thought he came down with the Polynesian worm.
So I guess I'll take this one. I mean, it's exciting that the Smoking Guns are working together. We saw Bart Gunn today in singles action, so that's kind of exciting. But their opponents here kind of seem to follow our excitement of the rest of the tag team division from this year, which is just worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair detail that I should add to this that I did look up. Billy Gunn returned to in-ring action about a week and a half before this show, so Billy Gunn is still fresh off of his injury.
That doesn't help my opinion. I think that is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I can't have been too excited for this. It's Samu? Really? Well, next up, something that I would have loved to have seen personally. Justin Hawk Bradshaw defeated Barry Horowitz. Joe, what'd you think?
I don't know. At that time, I probably wouldn't have been too excited about that. I got to be honest.
Yeah, that is a great point. From a contemporary standpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about being excited about it, but I bet you it was a pretty decent match.
Yeah, that's another fair point. Here's one that's really weird. Jerry Lawler, who was substituting for Goldust. So the original match card that was advertised was Goldust, but for whatever reason, Goldust didn't show up.
The knee.
I didn't get that detail, and I shouldn't have put it that way, but for reasons unknown to me, Goldust was unable to do this show, and so Jerry Lawler subbed in for him. So Jerry Lawler defeated Razor Ramon with Mr. Perfect as the guest referee.
Huh.
Whoa.
I mean, if that was Goldust versus Razor Ramon, I think we have ourselves a great match. But Lawler versus, I think that was probably wouldn't have ended up being all that great, unfortunately.
Yeah, Razor Ramon and Mr. Perfect are two of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But
yeah,
to have him lose to Jerry Lawler, I would have been booing my balls off at that show.
Yeah, I was pretty not excited because, obviously we can't go back in time and see this, but it was pretty cool to learn that Mr. Perfect would have been there in any capacity. I've always been a huge fan of Mr. Perfect. So this next one, on its face, doesn't sound good, but if you use your imagination, it could maybe be good. Mark Marrow defeated Mankind by disqualification. So the way that I read that is that Mankind did something so fucked up that he got disqualified, giving Marrow the victory.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me as well. My guess is, well, we don't know because they're both newcomers here. So I don't know who exactly they're trying to showcase in this match. But to me, it sounds like, Mankind just kind of went off the handle and the ref called it. And that's why he lost the match technically. But I think in the pecking order of things, Mankind is feuding with The Undertaker. Morrow is feuding with Triple H. I think Mankind is probably who handled that match for most of it, just didn't end up technically winning.
Yeah, it's certainly a step away from what they're currently doing with those two. So, totally random matchup, I guess. So, doesn't really excite me too much.
Yeah, it was so weird to read that here. And then it's followed up by something that is equally non-exciting. That's the Body Donnas defeating the Godwins in a non-tag title bout. So this was just a straight-up tag match. I probably would have hit the pisser at that point.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's not much to add. We've been seeing this time and time again, and we're being told that it's going to happen again here tonight on the Raw we're watching. So nothing too exciting there.
I mean, maybe I would have a different reaction if the tag team division has been promoted at all. But, going off of what we know, contemporary view of this event in 1996, there probably wasn't much lead up to this and probably not that much excitement and eerie for it.
Well, at this point, the highlight of the tag team division is Sunny, who is not even a tag team wrestler.
Right. She's the one carrying around the belts right now, right?
Yep. And finally, guys, the main event of our match card. And my goodness, the Ultimate Warrior pinned Vader. Yeah, Joe, I want to get your reaction to this first.
Well, in 2021, I hate that. But back then, I would have loved it. I'm not going to lie. I would have loved it. 14 years old. 13. 13 years old, I would have loved it.
I kind of agree with Joe there. If I'm 13 years old, I would have loved it. But knowing everything that we've seen from the Warrior, that's not a spoiler alert for what's to come, has been terrible. So actually watching it was probably torture, but as a 13-year-old, I would have been happy.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have thought about this as a 13-year-old at the time.
As an 18-year-old, you dressed up as the Warrior and went to a wrestling event.
I know we did, but I really liked Vader too. Like, I was a pretty big fan.
Did you ever dress up as Vader?
No, you're right.
Then you would enjoy seeing both of them.
Yeah, okay, that's a better way of looking at it.
Like, regardless of the outcome of the match.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It was probably just 3 clotheslines and a splash anyway. It probably wasn't even a match.
What do you mean? That's every match.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we're going to move on now to our final match of the night.
3 clotheslines and a splash.
The Ultimate Warrior defeats Isaac Yankim DDS by pinfall in 1 minute and 48 seconds. For once, the Ultimate Warrior doesn't have that fucking coat on. Thank goodness. But he definitely came out, ran around the ring, and then ran back up the entryway and exited the arena. And then he came back again. After a second, I have no idea what that was about.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Probably, I would guess that he knew coming out that the match wasn't going to be long enough to fill the show. So he probably said, well, I'll just come out twice then, brother.
I'll pop them twice.
And they do. They pop for him the whole time.
Yes.
It's been stated a couple times so far tonight, but it's reiterated here that Jerry Lawler is going to be in Yankim's corner here. But so far, it's just been all entrance from the Warrior. And just as the bell finally rings to start the match, Vince name drops Warrior University, which will be highlighted on WWF Mania. And I have to ask you guys, because I am not as in the know as I should be, do either of you actually know what the fuck Warrior University was?
It was very short-lived, I know that. From what I remember, I don't even know if the Warrior, ever even made an appearance at this place. But I want to say it's like a gym.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I assume.
So he wasn't ripping off 18 and 19-year-olds.
Maybe. I think it was,
Yes, I guess you're right. They could fall into that category, but.
Yeah. It was kind of like Hulk Hogan selling his weightlifting set for kids back in the day, but this was like a real gym that people could attend, I think. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I assumed it had some kind of gym situation happening, but I didn't know how far they would take it. If like Ryan said, if they would actually claim or try to claim that they would train you how to wrestle.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a wrestling. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
That's it right there. I mean, there are so many things about the Warrior at this point where you can say, who the hell knows?
And would you want to be trained by the Warrior for wrestling?
To wrestle, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe for bodybuilding, but not wrestling.
Yeah. Well, when the match begins, speaking of, we get to see the Warrior actually wrestle here. This is the first time in months. And I'm being
call
generous,
it that.
But he does put in kind of an effort, kinda. Mm-hmm. But I mean, wrestle in air quotes, and that's not even really for all that long because we break for commercial and come back to really weak looking clotheslines from the Warrior. Holy shit. They looked bad. Whew. This segment, it ended in a shoulder block and then finished with a splash for the pin and the 3 count. That's right, folks. Isaac Yankim is now officially a jobber, and this made me think of our running joke from whenever we were teenagers about how Kane was the biggest jobber of them all back in the day.
After the feud with Undertaker, he kind of became a jobber.
Yeah. And please don't fucking yell at us for that, because if you go back and look at that time, after his feud with The Undertaker, Kane lost damn near every match that he was in.
And I loved Kane. I thought Kane was a great character.
Yes.
I own a Kane mask, but he turned into a jobber later in life.
Well, no, the jobber treatment started on April 29th, 1996 here with the Ultimate Warrior. But then after the bell rings, the Warrior remains in the ring. He's still there, flexing and posing, of course. The King keeps talking about how he wants to go into the ring and talk to the Warrior, but he never does, as the Warrior eventually poses his way up the entryway. Vince fakes interest in the play-by-play of the finish, and then we get highlights of some of the other events of the evening, and then we fade to black. This was definitely an Ultimate Warrior match, and it definitely lived up to everything that was expected of it. Joe, please, what did you think of this match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
What did I think? Well, I have 2 notes. That's pretty much it. There was a weird, awkward 3 count. It looked like some miscommunication, maybe. I don't know. It was weird. And it looks like we're getting that Jerry Lawler Ultimate Warrior feud that was just the drizzling shits.
Yeah.
And looks like they're planting the seeds of that right now. So it's not going to get any better.
Yeah. This is pretty much everything we've come to expect. It starts off, there's a couple whips into the corner, followed by some clotheslines, and then a commercial break. Then we come back, and this is no joke. We get 3 more clotheslines, a splash, and then the win. In the amount of time that we've seen the Warrior. We've seen him in 3 matches plus 2 months worth of video montages. And through all of that, I'm not sure we have seen anything other than a clothesline. I'm sorry. we saw Splash.
Well, he got like that. Yeah. He did like that shoulder tackle.
Yeah,
thing
but it's almost a clothesline as well.
Yeah.
You can call that a variation off a clothesline. and that's all we get out of him. You know, this might have been the longest Warrior match we've had so far, but that doesn't change it from being an absolute embarrassment of a match. Wow. The Ultimate Warrior's return has been something else, I gotta say.
Yeah, there's really not much to add on to that. So, as I stated, that was the end of our episode. We're going to take it on over now to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, please go first.
My highlight, I felt it was easy as hell, and it's Mankind. His match with Bart was pretty strong, including all the stuff backstage, but when he gave his promo, that was the fucking cherry on the top. It took it to the next level and just made it Mankind my highlight. The low light is another easy one, this final match with the Ultimate Warrior and Isaac Yankim. It's pretty much what we've come to expect out of the Warrior. We always know when we see him, it is probably going to be the worst thing of the night, and it was.
My highlight and low light is it's pretty much the same. For a highlight, I'm going to go with the Mankind stuff, in particular, the stuff with Jim Ross, the interview with Bart Gunn, I like that. And then Mankind attacking Bart, and then the later interview that Jim Ross had with Mankind. So that's my highlight. There was good stuff on this show. The whole thing with British Bulldog and Diana.
Absolutely.
Stone Cold and Savio taking the next step here.
Very strong Raw.
Pretty good show, yeah. So my low light, is the Ultimate Warrior. Just shame on you, Vince McMahon, for bringing this guy back and having no plan whatsoever.
No chance.
No chance in hell. Guys, we are 3 for 3 on highlights and lowlights. My highlight is everything Mankind in this episode tonight. And I completely agree. This was a strong episode. There were a lot of really good things happening here. You guys have already listed them. My lowlight, obviously, the Ultimate Warrior in the final match of the night. I don't get it. Well, I do, but I don't, you know. If I had been there in the audience, I probably would have been popping my ass off too. But looking back on this, 25 years later, to me right now, it just doesn't hold up, and I don't get it.
It's also crazy to think about, like, what was it, like a year ago that we're getting vignette after vignette after vignette of Isaac Yankim, this dentist, this evil dentist, and he comes in and he debuts against Bret Hart. And just nothing after that. Like, he is a complete jobber.
He's afraid to get in the ring with the Ultimate Warrior, even though he towers over him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Once you said that, I realized something else. Since the Ultimate Warrior has been brought back into the fold, I can only think of maybe one other time where we've brought up the new generation. Can you think of any other time? I want to say it was Shawn Michaels that brought himself up as the standard bearer of the new generation.
Right.
Maybe it was Bret Hart.
Wasn't that Vince McMahon that was calling him the...
Yeah, but since we've had this push for the Ultimate Warrior, it's been crickets on the new generation.
Yeah. Well, and not to not to put Roddy Piper in the same category, but you brought Roddy Piper back too for WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not new generation.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake slithering to the ring every night.
Slithering.
I just think it's funny though, because we had Piper, we had other things going on, but fucking Bob Backlund, but we still were putting up the new generation. But once the Warriors showed up, it's almost non-existent. I just think that's very telling. We're not looking to peek behind the curtain on the Warrior any more than is what's forced upon us in his matches, I suppose. Well, gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for some news. Do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around April 29th, 1996 for us, Joseph?
Yeah, I have some notes on this particular show here in Sioux City. Dave Meltzer notes that this was a sellout of 3,200 fans for this show. And it was obviously much like the others. This show was live, and then the next 3 are going to be from the same location. Dave Meltzer describes the Mankind attack on Bart Gunn as not much heat. So the crowd was not feeling that, I guess. He also noted that Jim Cornette did an amazing interview and a great angle where they claimed Shawn Michaels had propositioned Diana Smith the night before during the pay-per-view card. It wound up in a very realistic-looking brawl, so Dave Meltzer's a big fan of that program right now. He also says, I don't know if Smith can draw on top after they've been using him for the past 4 months as a stepping stone for no-talent faces. But if it doesn't work, it won't be because they didn't come up with a great angle to set the match up.
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight that. One of you guys mentioned that before, how they're just using him in this tag team for how long now?
Yeah.
Here's a little blast from the past for you guys. Our own Jason Bartlett, his father, Rob Bartlett, is headlining as a comedian at the Sands in Las Vegas.
Oh, there you go.
And Stephanie Wyand is currently doing commercials for a sandwich chain in Boston.
Wowee. What a fall from grace there.
Shoo!
Lots of things go on when you pack 24 wrestlers and keep them together for a 17-day tour in Germany, as you can imagine.
Strutting around and everything.
Strutting around.
Yeah.
The clique is out of control, gentlemen. I know it's hard to believe. Diesel and Razor Ramon were flagrantly breaking every company rule they could in full view of everyone. There was tremendous heat on Shawn Michaels and Helmsley in particular. Apparently, there were guys that wanted to deck Michaels, but had to be talked out of it with Michaels being in the position that he's in. It would cost them their job. Sunny left the tour early because she was ribbed to death, including someone taking a dump in her food at one point. Which I have heard. There are many different versions of that story.
Yeah.
Paul Bearer insists that she ate the turd. There's others.
He would.
There's others that say that I guess it was in the hotel room and it smelled so bad that I don't know how she could eat it.
Well, and I think leading into the current feud, there's a lot of stories about where she gets slopped with a lot of people discharging things into the bucket before that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gross.
And I know it's confirmed that Sean Waltman placed the turd in the food, but he says it was not his turd.
Oh, so he was handling someone else's turd.
That is what I gathered, yes.
You need a turd? I can get you a turd.
Yeah.
I can have you a turd here.
With nail polish.
Apparently, Chris Candido was also being ribbed and harassed, but did not leave the tour early.
Oh.
There is some sort of romantic triangle which would be nobody's business except when Sunny had to leave the tour. It becomes business and not personal. So this is the first note that I've seen of Meltzer mentioning anything about Sunny having an affair with Shawn Michaels.
We can kind of read between the lines there, yeah.
Man.
Sunny has a lot of heat since she isn't shy about giving her opinion in a business where most won't say anything except behind people's backs. And last here is that Dave Meltzer says supposedly Bret Hart was fed up with what was happening and it made him feel even more strongly than he did before the tour about leaving, even though the consensus still is that he will be coming back within about 5 to 6 months. And that is all. What a train wreck of a European tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness. All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on May 6th, 1996, with matches featuring the 1-2-3 Kid, Techno Team 2000.
Oh, no.
And many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.